Melody has her own show, and it's for Patreon members only. That is not a small statement. That is not a side project. That is a declaration. For years, fans watched Love and Marriage Huntsville and saw Melody Shari as one of the central forces of that platform. They saw the marriage, they saw the business, they saw the friendships, they saw the fallout. But what they did not see was everything. And now, according to Melody herself, that is about to change. Let's break this down carefully and thoroughly. The live stream that sparked this conversation did not start with drama. It started with baked beans, seasoned ground beef, peppers chopped red, green, and yellow, brown sugar stirred in, steaks being prepped for the grill, baked potatoes in motion, and the possibility of potato salad or deviled eggs, depending on whether pimentos were in the fridge. It was domestic, it was grounded, it was intentional. This matters because what Melody is building is not just a subscription page. She is building a controlled environment, a space where she decides the camera angle, the edit, the tone, and the timing. No network, no episode cutouts, no selective storytelling. While she was seasoning steak and laughing about her son baking 3 cakes for a school project, she casually dropped the bombshell. She has launched her own Patreon. Not just a page, not just bonus clips, a structured content hub, a multi-part interview series, behind-the-scenes footage, cooking segments, day-in-the-life access, legal insights, emotional healing discussions, and, according to her, some of the most detailed revelations she has ever shared. That is significant. Let's examine the structure she outlined. She initially planned modestly, 2 videos per week, 1 interview weekly, measured pacing, controlled rollout. But she immediately pivoted. Instead of limited drops, she began releasing 1 to 2 videos per day. That is a content-intensive strategy. That is not dipping a toe in the water. That is diving in head first. And the pricing strategy, also strategic. She offered an early membership tier at $111, capped initially at 100 members. That sold out. Now that those cases are resolved, she feels free to speak. This timing is deliberate, and it aligns with a larger trend in media. We are in an era where personalities are shifting away from traditional network control towards subscription-based direct audience models. Patreon, Substack, and other platforms allow creators to monetize loyalty without gatekeepers. For someone like Melody, whose fan base was built through Love and Marriage Huntsville, this transition is powerful. She already has brand recognition. She already has audience trust. So instead of splitting ad revenue with a network or surrendering editorial control, she can retain both. But this is not just business, it is emotional positioning. She spoke extensively about healing. She described blocking certain social media accounts because they were triggering. She admitted that she could not even watch certain clips from her own past because the emotional charge was still active. That is not something people say lightly. That indicates trauma processing. She said it took over a year to reach a place where she could speak without being triggered. That timeline is important. Trauma recovery often requires distance before articulation. She described crying privately, then logging online to entertain followers. That duality is something many public figures experience: performative strength versus private vulnerability. She shared a story about breaking down in her garage and her son comforting her. That image, mother and child hugging, both crying, contrasts sharply with the polished television persona viewers saw for years. This is the material her Patreon will reportedly explore. Let's examine the glow she referenced. Viewers have commented recently that she looks lighter, brighter, energized. She clarified that this glow was not accidental. It was intentional. It required work, emotional work, spiritual recalibration, business resilience. She admitted she considered closing her business. That is a major confession for someone publicly positioned as a successful entrepreneur. Admitting near collapse reveals vulnerability. It also creates narrative tension, the comeback story. And comeback stories are compelling content. Now let's discuss the narcissism commentary. She said many women DM her asking how she dealt with narcissism. That is a strong word. In psychological terms, narcissistic personality traits involve manipulation, lack of empathy, grandiosity, control tactics. She did not diagnose anyone explicitly in this live stream, but she clearly framed her past relationship dynamics in that context. She said she learned from experience that she will share what it looks like to leave, rebuild, and protect children from internalizing unhealthy love models. She made a striking statement. Leaving was easier because of her children, specifically her daughters. She refused to let them think dysfunction was love. That is positioning. She is not framing herself as simply divorced. She is framing herself as protective, generationally corrective. That narrative strengthens brand loyalty. Now let's analyze the creative side. She mentioned filming a dramatic concept video where she is arrested. Her team questioned where the idea came from. She leaned into creative experimentation that suggests Patreon is not just confession, it is production. She also teased behind-the-scenes footage with Nick Cannon. That collaboration is notable given his entertainment profile. By placing that content behind a paywall, she increases perceived exclusivity. Let's examine the exclusivity structure. Early adopters at $111 get lifetime pricing. That creates urgency. She repeatedly reminded viewers that only around 100 spots remained. Scarcity drives conversion. This is classic subscription funnel psychology. Live tease, limited slots, escalating price, premium insider access, and she reinforced community. She told viewers to text family and friends. That is referral amplification. But the core question remains, is this truly her own show? In practice, yes, because what defines a show? Structured episodes, recurring themes, serialized storytelling, audience retention strategy, monetization model. Her 3-part interview series alone qualifies as serialized content. Add cooking segments, day-in-the-life vlogs, live Q&A sessions, and behind-the-scenes music production, and you have a multi-reach of digital series. It is simply not airing on cable. It is airing behind a paywall, and that distinction matters less and less in 2026's media environment. Now let's contextualize this on that show. Viewers watched her marriage unravel publicly. They watched business disputes. They watched cast tension. They watched edited episodes where producers determined narrative arcs. But she made it clear that there were moments where production bore witness to situations and nothing was done. That is a pointed comment. It suggests there were events that occurred off-camera or unaddressed in final cuts. She says she will discuss that. That could reshape audience understanding of past seasons. And because Patreon is subscription-based, her most invested viewers are the ones who will hear it first. Now let's talk about litigation again. She said she doesn't understand why celebrities discuss legal strategy mid-case. That indicates she observed others making that mistake. She refrained. That restraint is strategic maturity. She mentioned winning lawsuits, multiple, but she withheld details until now. Her Patreon is positioned as the full disclosure zone. Let's evaluate sustainability. Dropping 1 to 2 videos per day is ambitious. Maintaining that pace requires production workflow, editing staff, scheduling discipline. She mentioned a team. That infrastructure is critical. If sustained, it strengthens subscriber retention. If inconsistent, subscribers churn. So the next phase will determine longevity. Now consider brand expansion. She teased new music. She hinted that music